You are listening to the Cookbook Love Podcast with Maggie Green, episode number 372.
Welcome to the Cookbook Love Podcast, a podcast that celebrates cookbook readers, buyers, collectors, writers, and clubs. And now your host, cookbook author, culinary dietitian, and cookbook writing coach, Maggie Green.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Cookbook Love Podcast. How's everybody doing today? It has been a busy but quiet morning here in my cookbook bunker. And newsflash, I didn't go to the supermarket this morning. I am working on putting the finishing touches on my Publish Your Cookbook Masterclass. By the time you hear this, the masterclass will be live, but it has been so much fun recording the content for the class and talking to all of you cookbook writers by email. I did the most amazing thing. And if you have a business, you might try this sometime. In particular, if you're preparing a class and your email audience is the people who would be coming to your class, write them an email and tell them you're putting the finishing touches on the class. And before you finalize everything, you want to be sure that you incorporate their questions. And do they have any questions or objections or obstacles to whatever it is you're talking about? And in this case, it's cookbook writing. It has been great to hear from you guys. And if you're not on my email list, it's been great to hear from the people who aren't listening to this that were on my email list. Because a funny thing happens in life. And I'll speak for myself here, I know cookbook publishing inside and out, mainly because I've seen it from so many different angles. I worked on The Joy of Cooking as an editorial liaison. I helped edit other trade cookbooks. I've written 4 cookbooks of my own. I've self-published a cookbook. I've mentored people through traditional and self-publishing. 3 of my students had books traditionally published this year. Within the past, this year and last year, I've probably had 10 or 12 students that self-published cookbooks. You've heard many of them on this show. And we start to think that we know what's on the mind of the people who we're helping. But sometimes we don't know what it is that they're concerned about and what the struggles they are facing. And I mean struggles in terms of things maybe in their life that are preventing them from moving forward with a dream of creating a legacy or a cookbook that contains their knowledge, their expertise, ways they can help people in the kitchen. So I just decided to ask this question. I'm in a group program, and it's a group coaching program for people who run online businesses, and they suggested that we do this. And it worked out great the first time, and so I've actually incorporated it into a couple of different emails that I send out. And I just have had the best time not only hearing what people have to say, but writing back to them and actually talking to them by email. You know, when we work online and when we teach online and when we have a podcast online, I can't tell you what it means to actually receive emails from people that I help, from people that listen to the show, and also how much fun it is for me to reply back and probably for them and you to have the experience of knowing that I'm a real person here on the other end of this. This isn't just like some kind of chatbot talking into the microphone, a real person with a real life, doing real things, helping real people, cooking real food, very much like you. And I just love this connection by email. And all this to say, I had a show a couple weeks ago all about building your email list. Please, 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 if you have a business, this is the way to continue to maintain connection with people who want to be in your ecosystem. They want to hear from you. And if they don't, they can unsubscribe. But it's so much better than chasing followers in an algorithm that we cannot control. That's not to say I don't use social media, and it's not to say that I don't buy ads on social media, but email is the ticket. And now I'm going to segue to telling you a little bit about the class, and then we're going to talk today all about traditional book publishing. So I do want you to know, if you are a food, nutrition, or culinary pro who is dreaming of writing a cookbook, we are currently in the middle of our Publish Your Cookbook Masterclass, but it's not too late to join us. In this free class, we're discussing the shortcut that most aspiring authors miss, and that is how to publish your cookbook without writing your book first. You're going to discover how to position yourself as the author that publishers are looking for right now, and follow these exact steps to land a yes from a publisher. So if you want to join in the fun, head on over to this on-demand masterclass. I keep saying it's sort of like Netflix, at www.publishcookbooks.com. Publishcookbooks.com. And there is a link below in the show notes. Okay, so if you ever wondered what really happens behind the scenes of a cookbook once it's acquired by a traditional publisher. And just as a real short summary, I typically talk about publishing in 3 buckets. Traditional publishing is where author writes the book, publisher publishes the book, and pays the writer of the book in advance royalties. But the publisher assumes all the financial responsibility for publishing the book. The second type of publishing is self-publishing or independent publishing, where the author writes the book and they also assume the financial responsibility for publishing the book. The third type is hybrid publishing, where author writes the book and they assume the financial responsibility and pay a publisher to publish the book for them. Most of the time, with most of my students, I originally was just helping people with traditional publishing, which is the publishing we're going to talk about today. In my program, Get Paid to Get Published. But then I had requests for people who wanted to learn how to self-publish. So if I hear something that my audience wants, I try to fulfill that. So I didn't know how to self-publish. So the first time I taught cookbooks on KDP, I taught every week what to do, and I was learning as we went along. It was really fun, met so many amazing people. They published great books, and they have been on the podcast. You've heard from several of them. And I also learned to publish myself, and I'm still teaching that course. I have a program of cookbooks on KDP going on right now, behind the scenes, helping people learn to publish their recipes and stories in a book on Amazon. And then the hybrid publishing model, I really do think it has a place. I think for people that have a built-in audience, maybe it's restaurants, wineries, bakeries, really successful food blogs, people that want to invest the capital in their own book so that they can make more profit off the book than the publisher does. And it's a great publishing model also, hybrid publishing. But I want to talk a little bit today about traditional publishing, because a lot of people wonder in traditional publishing, like who edits, who decides about layout, fonts, photography, what our job of the writer or the author is once the contract is signed. And so I thought I would map this out for you today, and you can see exactly how the cookbook moves from manuscript to finished book. So by the end, I hope that you understand who handles what's expected of you as the author, and what you can focus on right now to actually get paid to write a cookbook, which is the traditional publishing model. So let's talk first about you before the book deal, and you meaning you as the author. If you have ever signed a book contract, you know that the most valuable assets in your business or in your life are the proposal and your platform. Platform is a fancy publishing word for your visibility and engagement in the marketplace with people. You leverage your connections that you already have. This is what publishers love. Publishers are not hiring us to design the book, photograph the book, or edit the book. They're hiring us and they're paying us for our book ideas and for our audience. Your proposal shows them that you can organize a concept, create a list of recipes, write a table of contents, prepare a sample chapter, and that you have a vision, an end point for a commercially viable book that you're willing to be the author of. And the platform shows that you already have connections with people who would read the book, people who would buy the book. Publishers are in business to sell books. Their product is the book. So the more readership you bring along with you, and the better your idea for the book, the greater chance that you're going to hear a yes from a publisher. And do not confuse engagement and visibility and readership with followers on Instagram. It is not the same thing. And this is evidenced by the fact that prior to the early 2000s, no cookbook author had any social media presence because there was no social media. And we still had readership, we still had connections with people, we still had ways that we connected with real people who wanted to buy real cookbooks from us. Classes, newsletters, teaching, helping, connecting, networking, all these things that we do to really connect with people and help them. We can do that now in a lot of different ways, but it hasn't been always around that social media was part of that. So I think that's the biggest thing that I want people to know is that we don't want to confuse, again, our platform and our connection with an audience and readership with just social media followers. We're not chasing followers to build a platform. We're building relationships, engaged relationships with people. And this kind of goes back to what I was talking about at the beginning of the show. Okay, and then the next thing is that traditional publishers invest a lot in each book project. Often tens of thousands of dollars go into creating this book before the first copy ever prints. And they want to know that the investment that they're making is going to be in an author who understands the process, communicates clearly, and delivers their work on time. So when you focus on the proposal and the platform, you get to build trust with the publisher before you ever even step into their office, which you may or may not even ever do. I met the people on the publishing team for my first cookbook. They were based in Lexington, Kentucky. I met with them actually several times. I actually saw them out and about too as I was out promoting my books. I love that team, and it would be really fun someday to write another book for them. My second publisher is based in Montana. I never met anybody in person. Never. Now, we communicated. We talked on the phone. We wrote emails. We did our back and forth, but I never really met them. But I still felt like I built a relationship with them because I learned to trust what they said was true. They learned to trust me. We had a great working relationship. And I actually ended up referring some people that I knew, some other food and culinary professionals, to them as a publisher for some books that they wanted to write. And then my third and fourth books, I knew the acquisitions editor. I had met her from a previous publishing house, but I never met the people in person who were actually working on the production of the book. So it's not uncommon in the 2020s to say that you may not meet everybody in person who's on the team, but you'll definitely be in touch with them. So let me talk about this core team of the people that are on the team of a publisher. Sometimes we think of a publisher just a business, a building, a name, but a publishing team is what puts this book together. First of all, you're going to interact with an acquisitions editor. The acquisitions editor is the person on the team that acquires books and acquires authors to write books for the publishing house. They are essentially your first point of contact with this publishing team. They really become your champion inside the publishing house because they're probably the person who fell in love with your idea, pitched the idea to the editorial or marketing team, and fought for your book to get published at an acquisitions meeting. And you'll stay in touch with the acquisitions editor throughout the entire process. Every single book I've ever worked on as an editor or an author, an outside editor, I was like a copy editor. And then, of course, as an author, I can always remember who the acquisitions editor was. And acquisitions editors sometimes move from publishing houses to publishing house, so it's great to have a good relationship with them, because if they go to a new publishing house, they take their relationships with them. It's kind of like your hairstylist going to a new salon. They take their relationships with them. It was great fun getting to know the acquisitions editors, and they really do become the point person for contact with authors who are wanting to write books for them. They probably also have a lot of relationships with agents, culinary literary agents that help people find book deals in publishing houses that don't accept unsolicited proposals. They have relationships with them, and a lot of this is all built, of course, on relationships. The second person is the editorial team. Now, once you write a book manuscript and you send it into the publishing house, it literally looks like I always tell my students, it's like you just wrote a big book report. It's on Microsoft Word, typically. It's uploaded through the internet to a server where they can download your manuscript. And the editorial team gets to work on editing your book. This is the first thing that I think is so important about the publishing team. And editors often get a bad rap, but it's because of, I think, the authors, sometimes our own insecurities about someone editing our work or our control over our work. But editing is a process to help make the written work that we have better. It's all about making it better, more clear, more straightforward, less repetitive. And there's different levels of editing. The developmental editor helps shape the big picture, the flow of the chapters, the recipe organization, the storytelling arc, etc. The line editor focuses on the craft, polishing sentences, making sure transitions are clear, and that the tone of the book fits the voice of the author. The copy editor then is at the very most detailed level, accuracy, consistency, and precision in recipes. Cookbook editors then, I think, are a rare blend of chef, grammarian, and counselor. Cookbook editors are special people. And that's why I often say, if you want to write a cookbook, make sure you're working with a publishing team that has published cookbooks before. Make sure you're working with editors who have edited cookbooks before. Make sure you're working with book coaches that understand cookbooks. Because we have this thing in a cookbook called a recipe. And they can help bring their food knowledge to the book to refine it without losing your voice and without removing your flavor, and to help the people who are cooking from the book get the most excellent, delicious results in their kitchen. Being a cookbook editor was a ton of fun. I did it, like I said, the Joy of Cooking, I did a lot of things for the Joy of Cooking, but after that went on to edit several trade cookbooks. The big one that I did was Bakewise by Shirley Collier, which was a companion book to Cookwise. And I helped, Shirley had everything written, but I was responsible for getting it organized, getting it together, getting it into manuscript form, and helping mainly as a developmental editor for Shirley. And it was a ton of fun, and it just really suited the kind of personality that I have. I loved talking to people. I loved talking to Shirley, loved being in touch with her and her husband, Arch, loved organizing the documents, keeping the files on my computer, making sure they were all in order. It just totally suited my personality. So editorial teams for cookbooks are important. And again, I can't emphasize enough that if you're going to publish a cookbook with a traditional publisher, we obviously are pitching ideas to publishers that publish cookbooks because it's a special type of book. The next part of the team is the design team. And the design team brings the book to life visually. I find it fascinating that people that want to write cookbooks, and it's the same for people that want to start businesses, we always start with the visuals first because it's what we can see. It's what's on the outside. People that want to start a business would design a website and business cards before they ever even had a product, for example. People that want to write cookbooks often are worried about page layout. They're dinking around on Canva. They're worried about how the pages are going to look, but they really haven't even written the book yet. Because we're so driven to want to bring things visually to life once we have an idea, because a lot of us are visual people, but we don't have the heart of what we're doing even accomplished yet. We don't have customers. We don't have a product. We don't have a way to sell to them. So I understand if you really feel strongly toward this design aspect of your book. But the design team for a traditional publisher are amazing people. They handle the layout of the book. That means the way that the pages are laid out. They usually use software like Adobe InDesign. There's book designers. That's what they do. I've talked to a book designer on the podcast. Book designers design books. It's like an interior designer designs an interior of a home or an office. The book designer designs the layout of the book. Pick the typography, how your recipes are going to appear on the page. And I think that was the fun thing because I like design, but I think there's a lot of people in the world that are a lot better at it than I am. And I believe that they really help create beautiful books. And then the cover designer creates the cover, which is the first impression of the book. Sometimes the cover designer and interior designer are the same, and sometimes they're not. But that cover is so important to grab people's attention, to draw them over to the cookbook table or to draw them into the book if they're looking at it online, and to make someone want to pick up and read about that book. So don't sell yourself short. If you really aren't that good at design, I think a publishing team is a great way to get a beautiful book without even ever having to worry about it. You'll get to give input. You'll get to look at designs, but don't feel like you have to do it all on your own if you don't want to. Then there's the photography team. Now, the photography team works closely with the design team, but this often includes a photographer, a food stylist, maybe a prop stylist. The shoot sometimes happens in-house, or it's done by freelancers under the direction of the art director for the book. But the goal is to capture the emotional essence of your food. Is it rustic? Is it modern? Is it minimalist? And some people also in the beginning, and I have people that have written to me even this week, the biggest obstacle they're facing with their cookbook is their photography. But I've got a newsflash for everybody. If you're working with a traditional publisher, you don't have to worry about the photography. They'll have money set aside in the budget for some photography for your book. If you happen to be a photographer and you want to pitch yourself as the photographer for your book, you can do that when you make your proposal, but it is not a requirement. I like food photography, but I don't particularly like doing it. I've said this on the show before. I was thrilled to have illustrators and photographers work on my books for me. And it was so fun to work with them and watch it all unfold. I believe it was in Maureen Aboud's podcast interview that we did a couple of weeks ago where she talked about the photo shoot. And they went to her house in northern Michigan and how much fun it was to actually produce the photos for her book, Lebanese Baking. And that's exactly what I mean. It's really being part of a team where there's photographers that are taking your recipes and turning them into beautiful photos. Illustrations are also popular in cookbooks, so it's not that everybody's doing photos anymore. There's graphics and illustrations, and working with someone who designs all those is also fun. And that's exactly what happened with me with Kentucky Fresh, my first book. All hand illustrated, original illustrations designed by Cricket Press in Lexington, Kentucky. They're husband and wife team that created the artwork for the book. Really, really fun. Okay, and the third thing then is the marketing and publicity. Now, there's a lot of confusion about marketing and publicity, and there is no doubt that publishers help market and promote your book. They want to because they're creating the product, and they want it to sell. And they've probably even set a target for how many books they're going to print based on how many books they're planning to sell. So once the book is nearing publication, the publishing teams, this marketing publicity team steps in. They coordinate media coverage, influencer outreach, book tours, promotional partnerships, work with the sales team. Did you know there's a sales team that goes out and promotes your book to the bookstores? It's a great thing. I had an experience about a year ago. I went to a couple of the Bourbon Trail distilleries here in Kentucky. They have really nice gift shops. And my cookbook was present in 2 or 3 of those, but my second cookbook, which is also a Kentucky cookbook, wasn't. So I called my acquisitions editor at the publisher, and they said they'd get the sales team to go out and talk to some of them, because I think my other Kentucky cookbook needs to be there also. Gift shops like that are perfect for the books that I have written. They get you into catalogs, book fairs, online retailers. There's also sometimes people might submit for a book award, like IACP Book Award, James Beard Book Award. And they help to coordinate all of that. Blog, podcast tours, radio shows, whatever it is, marketing and publicity are the people that do it. But the truth is they really only focus on the front list books, which is what your book would be right when it's published, for a set period of time. So once they stop, which they ultimately will do, it's up to you to pick up the ball and run with it. So that's why your connection to real people, even as you're writing your proposal through your platform, is so important, because you get to work on marketing and publicity with the team. And when you first sign the contract, you'll probably fill out a marketing and publicity questionnaire that helps to drive the work that the marketing and publicity team will do once the book is actually published. I can remember both the marketing and publicity person for my books, in particular the first 2 Kentucky books, and it was really fun to watch them work, because they know their business so well. They know where they can get their authors in for appearances, for speaking engagements. They have a lot of ideas. And in particular, if you're doing a regional title like I did about Kentucky, my publisher was tuned in to the region where the book was going to be promoted the most, and that's in Kentucky and around Kentucky. And they had some really neat connections that I could never have begun to even have curated this list of people that they reached out to. I was going to do radio shows, library programs, extension office things. I was willing to go and do anything. So be a willing participant in what they have to suggest also. Okay, the next thing that we do want to acknowledge is there are freelancers and contractors that work with big publishers. And a lot of new authors don't realize this. The developmental editor that you work with may also edit books for several major publishers. The food stylist might be known as a creative who freelances for maybe magazines or television shows. This flexibility of hiring freelancers allows publishers to hire specialists who fit with our project specifically, whether that's someone who understands baking or plant-based cooking or regional cuisine, without having to have all of these specialists on their staff. You might communicate with the freelancers directly or through your acquisitions editor. But either way, all of these people are here to bring the book to life. So let's talk a little bit about your job as the author, what your responsibilities are and what their responsibilities are. And then there's some joint responsibilities, because I think when we set out to write a cookbook and we are going to get it published, there is a lot that we perhaps want to control, but it's really better, I have found through experience, to let the publisher do the work that they're experts in doing in order to get the best results on the other side. So number 1, our first responsibility after we sign the book deal is to deliver our manuscript complete and on time. Every word that's going to go into the book will be typed up and sent to them. Now, some cookbook writers do this all on their own. Some work with ghostwriters, which is perfectly fine too. Usually, if it's a ghostwriter, sometimes they're acknowledged on the cover, sometimes they're not. Sometimes publishers actually hire ghostwriters to help some authors finish their manuscript, but the manuscript has to be delivered. And this is the Microsoft Word document. It's very boring. It's not designed. It just looks like a typed big book report. The second thing we're responsible for is tested recipes and accurate measurements. We're saying, here's my manuscript, and I have tested and cooked and developed everything in here. And if I haven't, I've given the proper attribution, the proper acknowledgments, proper permission from people whose work I have used. Talked about that before in some of the recipe podcasts. Number 3, responding promptly and professionally to editorial feedback. Your manuscript will be put on a schedule of editorial feedback. They'll say, and you'll be given a production schedule for the book that they set up. It's going to go to the editor. You're going to get it back at such and such a date. You'll have X number of days to review the edits and get it back to us by such and such a date. My suggestion is when you get that production schedule, put those dates on your calendar. Don't plan to be taking a trip that you can't pay attention to your manuscript. It's not that you can't be traveling. Maybe you want to go to a quiet place during that time. And when the manuscript edits come back, you focus on reviewing them all, approving or not approving them, and sending them back to the publisher on time, according to the production schedule. And then the next thing that you want to do is do the same thing. Once your book is in pages, you'll get it back to review. It's going to be the design layout, usually very few changes at that point, but we still do a proofread of everything to be sure that it's all correct. And then the final thing, of course, is supporting your launch. Anything that you can do to support the book launch. You're going to be heavily involved in that, but be a willing participant and supportive in what they're recommending that you do to help make this book be as successful as it can be. Now, what they're responsible for is they'll refine the work that you've done. They'll make it better through editing and design. They'll manage the timelines, the photo shoots, and the production of the book. They'll manage the distribution of the book. They'll make your work shine visually and editorially. They'll guide the marketing, publicity, and distribution of the book. And when both sides, the author and the publisher, do their part well, the product feels seamless, and it creates a beautiful book that reads well, looks stunning, and feels cohesive from start to finish. I get many of those books across my desk. Every one I see is different. And for those of you that say, there's so many cookbooks out there, what else do I have to say? I just have to tell you that there's still room for you because your story hasn't been told yet. So why does all this matter? Why am I talking to you about this? Because I want you to see that traditional publishing is an opportunity for us to release the reins of control and stop trying to do everything ourselves. Many aspiring authors waste months designing mock layouts, hiring photographers, taking the pictures themselves before they're even under contract. But the truth is, the publisher is going to probably, most likely, redo all of that. If you want to write a cookbook and get a book deal with a publisher, the best use of your time right now is 2 things. Number 1, develop your proposal. And number 2, build your engagement and visibility with readers. Build your engagement and visibility with people. Don't chase followers. Build your engagement and visibility with people. If you have a business and you have an email list or you have a blog and they've become a little bit stale or stagnant, now's the time to bring some life to those. I always say it's a website. It's not a cobweb site. It's an email list. It's not dead or stale. It's alive. And those are the things that sell the book to the publisher. And once you get the deal, the publisher brings in all the pros, the team to help you. And they're going to create the book. And it's a professional team. And you focus on your expertise and you trust the work that they are going to do. And when you understand how traditional publishing works, you position yourself as a partner, not a hopeful hobbyist. You're a pro who's a professional partner with a publisher. We let the pros handle the editing, design, photography, and we bring the idea and the audience. So if you are ready to learn how to position your proposal so publishers see you as part of their team, Again, don't forget to go register for our Publish Your Cookbook Masterclass. It's available right now. You can watch it on demand just like Netflix. Head to publishcookbooks.com to join us. And until next time, have a great day. Keep writing, keep cooking, keep believing in the power of your recipes and stories to make an impact on other people. And most importantly, keep loving your cookbooks.
Thanks for listening to the Cookbook Love Podcast. You can find out more information at www.cookbooklove.co.